Chapter 1: The Frozen Silence. Welcome to Synapse Daily. Imagine a world of pure, blinding white. The wind howls at 90 knots. It cuts through steel and bone alike. Temperatures drop to minus 80 degrees Celsius. Every breath feels like swallowing broken glass. Antarctica is a beautiful, icy graveyard. Nothing grows in this desolate wasteland. Humans are merely temporary, fragile visitors here. The ice is several miles thick. It hides secrets from millions of years ago. But in 1977, things changed forever. A radical vision challenged the ancient ice. Architects dreamed of a permanent human home. Could we truly conquer the South Pole? The silence of the desert was broken. Man planned to dominate the frozen frontier. This was not a simple research hut. It was a statement of human defiance. Nature is cruel in the deep south. Storms last for weeks without any pause. Visibility often drops to zero within seconds. Yet, the blueprints promised a warm sanctuary. People called it the Unbuilt Research City. It remains a ghost in our history. A ghost made of glass and titanium. Scientists wanted to live there forever. They wanted to study the stars above. They wanted to drill deep into time. The silence began to echo with ambition. Could technology overcome such brutal physics? The world watched the southern horizon closely. The stakes were higher than the mountains. Failure meant a cold, lonely death. Survival required a miracle of modern engineering. This is the story of that miracle. It is a story of ice and fire. Welcome to the edge of the world. Chapter 2: The 1977 Vision. The Cold War era fueled massive dreams. Nations raced for ultimate scientific dominance. The space race was reaching the moon. Now, the Earth's final frontier was next. Resources in the ice were very tempting. Oil and minerals lay beneath the sheets. The global energy crisis forced new thinking. Planners proposed a massive, enclosed city. This design was called the Global City. It was a self-sustaining urban hive. Designers looked at the year 2000. They saw a future of crowded continents. Antarctica offered vast, empty, unclaimed space. The 1977 concept was truly breathtaking. It featured a dome miles across. The scale was larger than any stadium. It looked like a fallen silver star. Inside, thousands of people would live. They would work, eat, and sleep there. The blueprints looked like pure science fiction. Yet, the underlying math was surprisingly real. Structural engineers calculated every single load. They accounted for the crushing snow weight. They measured the force of polar gales. The vision was both terrifying and beautiful. It promised safety in a lethal land. No more shivering in small, dark tents. The city offered a new human era. Was it a utopia or a dream? Governments debated the massive financial cost. Critics called the architects completely insane. But the dreamers kept drawing their lines. They drew a city on the ice. The 1977 vision was a grand challenge. It challenged our limits as a species. Chapter 3: The Geometric Shield. Why use a dome for this city? Traditional buildings fail in the Antarctic wind. Flat walls act like giant, heavy sails. The wind eventually rips them apart. Snowdrifts bury standard square structures quickly. The 1977 concept utilized advanced geodesic geometry. This shape is incredibly strong and light. Triangular facets distributed the massive external pressure. Aerodynamics allowed wind to flow over smoothly. The shell protected the entire inner core. Imagine a shield against the frozen apocalypse. The dome was made of reinforced polymers. It used special glass to trap heat. Inside, a controlled microclimate existed. The temperature stayed a constant 20 degrees. Imagine walking outside without a heavy parka. Children could play in short-sleeved shirts. Life flourished under a synthetic, bright sky. The shield blocked the deadly ultraviolet rays. It also kept the warmth from escaping. Was this a colony or a prison? Some feared the feeling of being trapped. Others saw it as the ultimate sanctuary. The geometry was the key to life. Without the dome, the city would freeze. One crack could lead to total disaster. Pressure sensors monitored every single triangle. Computers adjusted the internal tension constantly. It was a living, breathing architectural skin. The shield fought the wind every second. It stood firm against the white darkness. It was man's armor against the cold. The engineering was ahead of its time. The shield was our only hope. Chapter 4: The Internal Ecosystem. Inside the dome, the city breathed. It was a bubble of artificial life. Engineers planned lush, vibrant, hydroponic gardens. Green plants provided much-needed fresh oxygen. They also filtered the city's recycled water. The greenery boosted the residents' mental health. The sun disappears for 6 months straight. Total darkness causes deep, heavy human depression. Artificial lighting mimicked natural, healthy day cycles. Lamps moved across the ceiling like suns. Psychology was as vital as structural physics. People needed color in a white world. Parks and streams filled the central plaza. Water flowed through recycled, stone-lined paths. It was a fragile bubble of life. Nature survived within a rigid steel ribcage. Birds were even considered for the parks. Their songs would mask the mechanical hum. The air smelled like wet earth and pine. It did not smell like diesel or ice. Scientists grew fresh tomatoes and crisp lettuce. Diet was crucial for long-term polar health. Fresh food prevented scurvy and internal fatigue. The ecosystem was a closed, perfect loop. Every waste product was reused or burned. Nothing was wasted in the global city. The city was a prototype for space. It was a miniature, thriving Earth. Inside, the winter was just a memory. The gardens were always in full bloom. Life won against the void of Antarctica. The internal world was a green miracle. Man and nature lived in harmony. Chapter 5: Powering the Beast. How do you heat a giant, frozen city? The 1977 plan required massive, steady power. Standard diesel generators were simply not enough. They required too much expensive, heavy fuel. Engineers considered small, modular nuclear reactors. These were seen as the ultimate future. They provided constant, reliable, clean thermal energy. Fission could keep the dome warm forever. Waste heat warmed the city's internal atmosphere. It flowed through a complex underground network. Wind turbines also lined the icy exterior. The Antarctic winds are a relentless energy source. They spin blades at incredible, dangerous speeds. Solar panels captured the endless, bright summer light. Every photon was a precious unit of heat. Redundancy was the absolute key to survival. The city had 3 independent power grids. If one failed, the others took over. In the cold, energy is literally life. If the power died, everyone died quickly. The city was a thermodynamic, complex miracle. Efficiency was a matter of daily life. Batteries stored power for the dark months. Liquid salt tanks held onto the heat. Nothing was ever allowed to go cold. The core hummed with a deep, blue light. It was the heart of the machine. Without it, the blood would stop flowing. The beast needed constant, high-voltage food. It was a hunger that never ended. The grid was a web of survival. Technology stood against the absolute zero. Chapter 6: Social Engineering on Ice. Thousands of brave scientists needed real homes. The city offered apartments, shops, and gyms. Loneliness is the biggest, silent Antarctic killer. Isolation can break the strongest human mind. The layout encouraged frequent, natural social interaction. Public squares mirrored busy European city centers. Coffee shops stayed open 24 hours daily. Light and laughter fought the heavy gloom. Schools were planned for permanent, growing families. This was no longer a temporary mission. It was a legitimate, functioning civilian society. Imagine raising a child in a dome. The first Antarcticans would be born here. Hierarchies would inevitably form among the researchers. Different nations would share the same streets. How would laws work on the ice? Who would police the corridors of glass? The social experiment was truly, deeply fascinating. Criminals could not be exiled into the cold. Every citizen was vital for the city's health. Conflict was a threat to the entire dome. Cooperation was a mandatory, legal requirement. Mental health experts monitored the entire population. Stress levels were checked like blood pressure. A happy city is a safe city. The architects built spaces for human joy. Music halls echoed under the reinforced shell. Art galleries displayed colorful, abstract paintings. Humanity refused to become cold machines. The soul needed more than just oxygen. Chapter 7: The Logistics of Dreams. Building this required a total logistical nightmare. Everything had to be shipped across oceans. Thousands of tons of steel needed transport. The Southern Ocean is a violent, salty barrier. Icebreakers would lead the massive, heavy convoys. Giant cargo ships carried the city's bones. Prefabricated modules were the primary engineering solution. They were built in warm, dry factories. Then, they were bolted together on ice. Robotic cranes would assemble the outer shell. Human workers stayed inside heated, mobile units. The short summer window was the limit. Every hour of sunlight was precious gold. One major mistake meant a year-long delay. Winter would lock the construction site down. Equipment would freeze and shatter like glass. Costs soared into the many billions. Who would pay for this icy, silvery utopia? The price of progress was truly staggering. Superpowers considered pooling their vast resources. It was a project for all mankind. Supplies had to last for many months. There were no grocery stores nearby. The nearest city was thousands of miles away. Logistics was the quiet hero of 1977. Without ships, the dream stayed on paper. The bridge to the south was fragile. It was built on courage and fuel. A chain of steel across the world. Chapter 8: Scientific Frontiers. The city was a giant, high-tech laboratory. It sat on a goldmine of data. Deep ice cores revealed Earth's ancient history. Bubbles of air told stories from millennia ago. We could see the planet's old breath. Telescopes peered through the clearest, driest air. Stars did not twinkle in the polar sky. They shone like steady, bright, diamond fires. Biology labs studied strange, extremophile life forms. Bacteria lived in ice as hard as rock. The city accelerated global, vital scientific discovery. We could monitor climate change in real time. It was a gateway to the deep stars. The moon felt closer than the shore. Antarctica was the perfect, dusty Martian rehearsal. Life in the dome mimicked space travel. Science was the city's only real export. Knowledge justified the immense, risky financial cost. Physicists searched for dark matter in the ice. Chemists analyzed the purest water on Earth. The city was a temple of reason. Every room held a new, exciting experiment. Discovery was the heartbeat of the streets. Students from every nation studied the results. Data flowed out via satellite links. The ice spoke to the whole world. It told us who we once were. It told us what we might become. The frontier was open and cold. Chapter 9: Geopolitical Tensions. The Antarctic Treaty was the primary hurdle. It keeps the continent for peaceful science only. Territorial claims are legally frozen in time there. A permanent city signaled permanent ownership. Other nations viewed the project with deep suspicion. Was it a research base or a colony? Diplomats argued in many heated UN sessions. The dream faced a wall of political permafrost. International cooperation was the only logical path. Yet, trust was a very rare resource. Cold War shadows followed the project everywhere. Nations feared secret military labs inside the dome. Would the city hold weapons or telescopes? The city became a heavy diplomatic chess piece. Every brick required a new international agreement. Sovereignty is a dangerous word on the ice. The ice belongs to no single man. But a city needs a clear, firm leader. Who would judge a crime in the dome? Which flag would fly on the highest point? The tension was higher than the wind speed. Politics proved much colder than the polar night. Paperwork moved slower than the ancient glaciers. The dream started to drown in red tape. Words replaced the sounds of construction. The world could not agree on peace. Chapter 10: The Engineering Failure? The plan faced brutal, physical, crushing realities. The Antarctic ice sheet is constantly moving. It is not a solid, still floor. Glaciers flow toward the sea very slowly. A fixed dome would eventually crack and snap. Foundation engineering required floating and sliding technology. The massive weight would sink into the snow. Heat from the city could melt the foundations. This would create a lethal, slippery mud lake. Designing for thermal stability was nearly impossible. The environment was too dynamic for rigid steel. Nature fought back against every single blueprint. The ice refused to be conquered by man. Engineers struggled with the sheer scale of expansion. Ice builds up on the exterior every year. The dome would eventually be buried in white. How do you dig out a whole city? Ventilation shafts would choke on the drifting snow. The weight of the sky was too much. Physics is a harsh judge in the South. The math started to fail the vision. The ice was a living, moving giant. It did not want a city on its back. Chapter 11: Why it Vanished. By 1979, the project lost its momentum. The global economy took a very sharp downturn. Interest rates climbed to record, painful highs. Funding for megaprojects dried up almost overnight. Environmentalists also raised major, valid concerns. A city would pollute the pristine, white wilderness. Waste management was a terrifying, unsolved problem. The Antarctic Treaty became much more restrictive. Mining was eventually banned on the entire continent. Without a clear profit, the city lost sponsors. Corporations saw no return on their billions. The blueprints were archived and slowly forgotten. A dream frozen in yellowing, old paper. Money killed the city under the dome. The focus shifted to smaller, cheaper stations. The grand vision was seen as excessive. It became a story for the history books. The machines were never sent to the shore. The silence of the ice remained unbroken. The global city stayed a ghost. It was a victim of the balance sheet. Chapter 12: Modern Legacies. Today, we see echoes of 1977 everywhere. Modern stations like McMurdo are nearly cities. They have bars, gyms, and heavy traffic. The British Halley 6 station actually moves. It sits on giant, hydraulic, walking legs. It avoids being buried by the rising snow. We learned from the 1977 technical mistakes. Smaller, modular designs are now the gold standard. The dream of a metropolis changed its form. We prioritize sustainability over massive, heavy scale. The unbuilt city taught us deep humility. We adapt to the ice's rhythm now. We no longer try to crush the glacier. New materials handle the cold much better now. Carbon fiber replaced the heavy iron beams. Remote sensing monitors the moving ice sheets. We live with the continent, not on it. The 1977 vision was a necessary failure. It pushed our imagination to the limit. Every modern base owes it a debt. The blueprint was a map to the future. Chapter 13: The Future Horizon. Will we ever build it? Space travel might require Antarctic cities. Mars is cold and dry. Antarctica is our best training ground. Training for the red planet happens in the snow. Technological leaps make the dome feasible today. We have 3D printers for the ice. We have better nuclear safety now. New polymers resist the wind and sun. Perhaps the 1977 dream was just too early. It was a vision ahead of its time. Someday, children might play on the ice. They will look through the glass at the storms. They will feel safe in a warm world. Until then, the blueprints remain silent. The white desert keeps its lonely secrets. The ghosts of 1977 still haunt the maps. They remind us to keep dreaming big. The ice is waiting for the next vision. Will you be the one to draw it? Thank you for joining Synapse Daily. We explore the ideas that define us. The future is always under construction. The past is a lesson in courage. Stay curious. Stay bold. Goodbye for now.